Welcome. We are live. When you're here, say hello into the chat. Share your name, where you're from. Welcome, welcome. Very excited to have everyone. We'll start in 10 seconds. Give folks a chance to pop on. Welcome, welcome. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the November Town Hall for Special Olympics Virginia. Hey, Nick. These town halls we do monthly to connect with the community, engage in conversation with Special Olympics athletes and families throughout Virginia. And the theme for tonight, our topic of discussion, is friendship. Friendship might seem like maybe a pretty simple thing. I bet a lot of people have friends, but maybe you don't always think about friendship or what that means for you, or what it means for us to engage in the action of being of gaining friends and having meaningful, friendly relationships with our peers. So that's what we're going to talk about a bit tonight, and no better than the folks from Best Buddies. So we have Claire Carrico who's a program lead with Best Buddies International, and some special guests who have been with Best Buddies and for their own personal friends for more than 25 years. We have Becky and Paul, and joining Becky is her daughter, Reese. Hello. So we're really excited to have these folks joining us and engaging and leading this awesome conversation about friendship and what it means to be a friend. So I will kick it over to you, Claire. Oh, and just a reminder, clerical item, please feel free to type in the chat throughout, ask questions, answers. We will have, Best Buddies actually has a couple of giveaways that they will provide tonight for a couple of outstanding answers that are provided in the chat. So Claire is going to lead that. And so stick around and stay engaged, because you never know when there's a chance to win a prize. So with that, I will kick it over to Claire and the team to start our discussion.
Well, thank you, Casey. I'm really excited to be here. Like Casey said, I'm from Best Buddies. We are a nonprofit that provides opportunities for one-to-one friendships, integrated employment, leadership development, and inclusive living for people with disabilities. But the pillar I'm here to talk about, and what gets me so excited, is our friendship program, which Becky and Paul are part of. And we'll get to hear their story in just a little bit. But I want to kick it off with an icebreaker, because being a good friend involves listening and sharing and asking questions. And sometimes that can be hard to do. And it's definitely something that takes practice. So during this time of year, one question I usually like to ask people is, what is your favorite holiday? Think about all the different holidays that occur throughout the year, and feel free to put your favorite holiday in the chat. And Becky and Paul, you're welcome to share your favorite holiday as well.
Well, mine is definitely Christmas time. I love that time of year. What about you, Reese?
I'd probably say my birthday.
What do you like, Paul? What holiday?
I would say Thanksgiving, Christmas, and my birthday.
I wonder what his favorite is. March Madness.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
I see July 4th.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I've got another Christmas and my birthday on here. I think my favorite is Thanksgiving, because I just love the eating. It's a great.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Aaron says Super Bowl Sunday.
Samantha said Christmas. Get to be with her family.
Yes, Sam, I love that. Time with family. That's very special.
Me too.
Thank you for everyone who's commenting in the chats too. We appreciate your participation.
Well, feel free to continue posting what your favorite holiday
Thank you.
is, and we appreciate you sharing. So we can see from a lot of our answers that many people said that Christmas is their favorite holiday. So if you were trying to meet a new friend and ask this question, and somebody else also said that Christmas was your favorite holiday, you could say something like, "Oh, cool, me too. I like Christmas because," and then share a reason why. So for me, I like Christmas because I get to sing Christmas carols and decorate the Christmas tree with my family. So I might ask Becky, why do you like Christmas? And she would provide her answer. So going back and forth. But someone else might say that their favorite holiday is 4th of July. For me personally, that's not my favorite holiday because I'm not a big fan of fireworks. The fire scares me. It's just very loud, and it's not my favorite, and that's okay. But as a friend, I would pause and say, wow, I see that, like for Kyle said he loves Christmas and 4th of July. I would say, Kyle, I love Christmas too, but 4th of July isn't my favorite holiday. But could you tell me why you like 4th of July? And then I would pause and provide an opportunity for Kyle to share. So becoming friends, getting to know people involves a lot of sharing your similarities and differences, and that's okay. We're going to have things in common with people, and we're also going to have things that aren't in common, and that is a really great recipe for friendship, having different topics to discuss. Becky or Paul, do you have anything else to add to that?
I would agree with my good friend Kyle Roberts. I do like Christmas because I get to see all friends and family, even before Christmas.
And it's nice to hear people share, the different things that they like. And that helps to have the conversation continue to flow, right? When you can talk about different people's interests.
And Claire, one thing what's neat about Kyle himself, he has signed on Facebook the Star Spangled Banner, by the way, recently on the Area 6 page.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a really great example. Paul, I feel like you're very
He's a
good
basketball
at this.
player like me and Reese.
Paul, I think you're very good at this about listening. I like what Claire's point is of sharing and listening and kind of that turn taking of conversation. You're really good at paying attention to other people and letting them share their interests and the wins in their life and the things that are exciting to them. And you like to cheer alongside of them with the things that they're doing. And I think that's really cool. Not just sharing all the awesome things about you, but also listening and receiving that from other people. And so I think that's obviously such a great mark of friendship and something that you do very well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you everyone for sharing in the comments. And again, you can continue answering the question, but I would really love to turn it over to Becky and Paul to share their story about friendship, how they met, and how they've stayed in touch over the past years and what they like to do now.
All right. Well, so for those who don't know, I actually went to high school with Paul, and we knew each other, but not well. We would see each other around school, say hello, see each other at different sporting events. But our friendship really started to grow when I started to become a part of the Special Olympics, but also Best Buddies. And so I'm really thankful for the opportunities that I've had as being an adult and getting to know Paul now. He's really become a fixture in our family. My kids love him. And so it's been a great opportunity. And we do have some pictures which we'll show of us in high school.
Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. So this is me and Paul in high school. So there's Paul playing basketball and then me playing softball. Yes. Paul, do you have anything to say about those times in high school?
I would like to say, like Becky was saying, saw each other in high school, but we did not hang out and stuff like that until Best Buddies at Special Olympics Virginia. And I would like to introduce one of my new teammates, partners, Becky's wonderful daughter Reese as well.
Oh, yes.
Maybe she can say some stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can go on to the next slide.
Sure.
We've had a lot of wonderful opportunities to participate in Paul's life, which has definitely been a pleasure for me and my kids. And so we've done, I think this is actually the car show. So this is a car show at the Chesterfield Fairgrounds.
Yes, it was.
Yep. And so we've done a lot of great
Right,
things.
which my father, who was our Area 6 chairman, had her out there.
Yeah. And then the next slide, I'll show you. Oh, this is us bowling. I think bowling was actually one of the first things that we did together. How did you think that went, Reese?
Well, I think Paul most definitely
Correct.
beat me in every single game that we played together, but it was fun, and I definitely look forward to doing things like this in the future.
Yeah. And during bowling this time, we were able to celebrate Paul's birthday, so that was fun. And then we went to the Richmond Squirrels game.
Correct.
Yep,
Yes, with
that
all
was a
my
fun
friends.
opportunity. Yep. Paul, how did you like that? The Richmond Squirrels
Reese
game.
was at a dance. I enjoyed myself. Yes.
I have a question for Reese. Do you remember how old you were when you and Paul met?
I'd probably say like
Your baby, or
No, it wasn't until this year.
it wasn't
when we
until this
a year ago.
or maybe like a year ago. So I was probably like 13, until I'm 14 now.
Correct.
But I'm glad that I got to meet him because he has a very sweet soul, and he's definitely a big part of my life. And I'm so glad that I met him. So
that is so cool. Yeah, I got the privilege of meeting Reese and Paul
And you're
this
part of
summer.
my life too, Reese, by the way. You
Go ahead, Paul.
and Casey, now we're teammates for the first time ever.
yeah.
Now we're teammates on the Red Heat, actually, of Chesterfield, which Reese
so they
is a
had,
partner and two others as well.
That's right. Yeah, they had basketball practice last night, so they had a great night. Yep. The next picture, I think I had on there. It
Reese
was
was
one.
a good helper.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, last night. I was gonna say though, Casey, you were saying the first time that you met Reese was at the Browns Island duck race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was a fun day.
That was very fun.
Yeah. And so, like I said, we've done so many wonderful things with Paul, and he's been a part of our family,
he
and we've
was.
really been grateful to have him in our lives. So
One thing that I really like about
And
that,
the first
about
picture
kind
that
of
was
my
shown,
observation.
that was the Friendship Thanksgiving.
It was?
it was. And Casey, what were you saying?
The thing I really like about that when you all were at Browns Island is, and I wonder if this is what you guys are going to get to a little bit of, like, Best Buddies and Special Olympics helped you guys kind of like meet and form friendship. And you've done a lot within these organizations, but that you also do a lot
Yeah.
outside of these organizations. And from my understanding, Reese, you and Paul you came to this festival, this local festival, but you weren't there as a Best Buddies thing or a Special Olympics thing. You were just there to hang out and hung out at the tent. You helped us do the raffle actually
No.
for a while. And I think that that's a really cool thing. And is a big mark of real friendship, like real inclusive friendship of not just letting some of these formal events that these organizations put on kind of drive the entire relationship, but that they're really more set up real relationship and friendship that you guys each take initiative to keep up and maintain. And I think that is really cool.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
I think, initially it was like, with Best Buddies and the Special Olympics, we had activities where that initially started our friendship. But then after that, it just blossomed. And we just have such a great connection.
That's awesome. We actually have Erin shared in the chat that Erin has a friend, Barbara, that they go to Starbucks every so often. So I think that's really cool. Erin, if you want to share anything more about Barbara or how you all met, then please do. But I think that's a really cool example of that.
And
Just
Casey, I would like to comment on something also with me and Becky. Me and Becky
Yes.
also went to a Hall of Fame game at L.C. Byrd High School, which we went to as well.
Yeah,
The
that was
football
this
game?
year.
The
So
football game?
And that was
the
cool
football
seeing
game.
people I haven't seen in a while.
Which Tom still won.
And then he went to the Hall of Fame
No,
banquet with
excuse
me.
me. Bird beat Monacan.
That's right.
Correct.
Bird Mont.
You tell her, Paul.
It was good seeing people we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. So I have. I was inducted into the Hall of Fame for. I was inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and so each year we try and go back to the Hall of Fame banquets, and so that's when I invited Paul to come and be my guest. And so we had a great night. We got to dress up and have a great dinner and be with friends from high school and see my old softball coach and other people from L.C. Byrd. So that was fun.
Oh, that's great.
Correct. And reconnecting back to good old days.
Yeah. It was a great night.
Well, thank
It
you,
was.
Becky and Paul, for sharing your story. We're going to have some more questions that you're welcome to answer, but I want to open it up for discussion. So the first question we have is, what makes a good friend? So when you are thinking about friends you have, or maybe friends you'd like to meet, what makes a good friend? To me, a good friend is someone who is a strong listener. When I tell them something, they're going to remember it. Maybe they'll repeat it back to me. And we can talk about the things that I shared with them. So feel free to put in the chat what makes a good friend.
So I will give a little shout out to Erin, who
Claire,
did by request share the
social
story. Who did share the story of how he and Barbara met. And it sounds like some while in trade school at Soccer at Special Olympics, and they're keeping their friendship up. And then Jerry has shared a little bit of what qualities he says make a good friend. Someone you can talk to about things as well as venting. Also includes motivating and inspiring each other to be their better selves.
I love that.
Claire, without social media, for me, reconnecting with good friends currently and in the past from high school as well, here in Virginia and in New Jersey, which myself, I invited actually a whole bunch of them to see about this tonight.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so Paul brings up a good point. Social media definitely can help us reconnect with people we went to school with, maybe people that live in a different state. Some of us might be living in different places than we were born, or maybe we made a really good friend from a long time ago. So social media can be a really great way to stay in touch. I know for me, all the friends I made in college don't live in Richmond with me currently. So using social media or texting or calling have been great ways to stay connected. So we'll get to that a little bit longer. Let's look a little bit into some of the other answers we've had. I love Isabel's answer, someone who's there for you through the ups and downs no matter what. That's so important in a friend, because sometimes life is going to be so great and wonderful and full of positive things. And then sometimes we're going to face hard times. And it's important that we have someone that we can share that with. We can call them and say, hey, I'm having a really good day. We can also call them and say, hey, I had a really hard day at work, or this situation happened at home. Can I talk to you about it? So thanks so much, Isabel, for sharing that.
I'd have to say that Paul, every single time that he's heard that I've been down and just sad, he's always reached out and made sure that I'm okay. And that's also a good quality in a friend, just making sure that the other person is okay and just always being there for them.
Yeah. I would agree. Paul's really good with making sure that he's calling to check on me and my family, but he's very good at like staying within his boundaries because I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and he knows at a certain time he can't call. But, he can't call after 8:30 because it's bedtime. And one of the things that he's done so well about is keeping in contact, but keeping his boundaries.
So thanks for sharing that, Becky. That's a great point. That when we're making friends new and old, we need to have a conversation about
Claire,
boundaries.
I think it would be good.
Go ahead, Paul.
And Claire, I think it would be good maybe in the future to get younger people like Race involved with Best Buddies as well. That might be a good idea. Maybe Race can set an example.
Yeah.
For other people in school.
You can make friends from an early age at school. We'll talk soon about, our next question will be about places you've met friends, but just circling back to boundaries, having those conversations with your friends, like when is a good time to call? Do you prefer to talk during the day? Is nighttime better? Maybe your friend has a job during the day and it's not appropriate to call them during the day or text them during the day. And so identifying those times so good times to communicate, or my friend isn't going to respond during the day because they're busy at work. It's probably not the best to be calling them repeatedly while they're at work. So knowing boundaries is so important.
Are we and there's both knowing other people's boundaries and our own, right?
I was talking to a parent earlier, and they were telling me they have a son with disabilities, and they know someone that disrespected this person. So the mom was telling the person to voice text, and that person says, "I don't do that." So where does the parent or where the family go if their son or daughter can't read texts or even listen to the voice messages? If someone calls them to say I'm at work or something like that, or if I'm busy.
That's a really good question. Paul, was your question, what do you do if somebody, if someone communicates a boundary, but the other person can't do that? So if someone says, "Oh, I like voice text," but then the person says, "Well, I can't do voice text." Is that what you're asking?
Correct. Or does understand, can't read and stuff like that. Where do they go?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone else has thoughts. My first thought is about natural support.
Claire, since you're a parent, and since Becky's a parent. Okay.
I think we're on a little bit of a delay, Paul. So we're trying to make sure we're matched
and
up.
The friend wise of me as a.
I think that.
And the friend realizes me as a mentor to him.
I think when it comes to communication, that it's good to rely on natural supports like family or other folks. So if someone cannot communicate a particular way, but that person needs communication that way, then I can see where it might be helpful to have a parent or another close friend involved in the communication of making plans or things like that, just to make sure that everyone is getting communicated with the way that they need in order to know about an event going on or whatever it might be. That's my thought, but curious if anyone in the chat or Becky, Reese, Claire.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry.
Yeah. If someone communicates a boundary that the other person isn't really able to support. So the example that Paul gave was someone saying, "Hey, I can't read text messages very well, so I like to do voice to text, or I like to talk on the phone." But then the other person, maybe their boundary or their need is to do text messages because maybe their hearing isn't so great, or they can't do voice to text when they're at work or something. And so I think really the question was kind of how to navigate people having different needs and trying to communicate, or I think even broader from than just communication in friendship is just needs in general boundary needs. So I almost wonder, Becky, maybe one example, this could be more hypothetical, but if you stated that there's a certain time when your kids were young, especially you were putting them down for bed, you couldn't talk, but let's say
but that's now actually.
Oh, now. Yeah.
That's now, because the thing is, I like a good routine for my kids. So 7:30 bath, 8:30 bed. And so, I mean, they probably don't fall asleep at 8:30, but he is respecting that boundary, which I appreciate. And like, he's very good with, when I talk to him during the week, he'll say, hey, do you mind if I call on this day? And I'll be like, yeah, that's great. So, you know, I think having that open communication, making sure you're having that dialogue between you and your friendship. And if I have to say, like, I mean, there has been times where, you know, if Paul wants to talk, I have to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't, you know, but he understands and he's not offended because we have that open communication. So,
Becky, I think that brings up a good point that sometimes we are going to want to talk to our friends, or sometimes we'll really want to hang out with them, like maybe go to the movies or the park. And sometimes they might be busy or just unable to come that day or talk that day. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to you or they don't want to hang out with you. They just might be busy or have other plans. And that's okay. Part of being a good friend is understanding that they have other things going on. Your friendship is important to them, but they're balancing work friendship, their work responsibilities, their home responsibilities. So thank you for sharing that. I'd love to do a giveaway for Jerry Holly for their awesome contributions to this question.
Good job, Jerry.
Woohoo!
We will be in touch soon about sending you some Best Buddies swag.
Yay!
But I'd love to move on to our next question and keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. And I do think Erin brought up an interesting point too, of other people breaking or you know, because we're all human, that sometimes
I think so too.
Forget other people's boundaries, or someone might forget our boundaries, and that might be hard. But like Becky was saying, having open communication, super important, so that even if someone forgets and they call you at a time that they shouldn't call you, or that you're not available, that we can be understanding and gracious with our friends.
So our next question is, where are places you have met friends? Casey talked a little bit about how organizations like Best Buddies and Special Olympics can provide great opportunities to meeting friends. But what are some other places you've met friends? I know someone in the chat earlier said they like to go to Starbucks with their friends. I'm wondering if you've met other people at coffee shops, shared similar interests. I know for me, one place that I've met friends is local yoga studios. I really enjoy doing yoga. And so when I go to yoga studios and we have an opportunity to share our interests and things that are going on in our life, that's when I'm able to bond with people. Feel free to put in the chat some places you've met friends, or maybe places you hope to meet friends. Jerry said the fitness center, work trips, conferences, and social media.
I know maybe some of y'all aren't in school, but that's where I meet like a lot of my friends. Now that I'm in high school, I think friendships are more like you're able to bond more, and instead of like, I don't know, like in elementary school, you kind of had like those little friendships, but in high school, you're able to hang out with them more and create better bonds and getting to know each other and stuff. So that's where I have mostly met all of my friends.
Yeah.
Isabel said she's met friends at the dog park. The dog park is a great place to
And
meet friends.
Claire with Reese, and she got a chance. Okay.
Paul, I think you cut out a little bit, so I didn't catch that last part.
You say that again, Paul?
Now with Reese and Rex herself, they have met with Reese and Rex herself, and plus with Becky with their involvement now with Special Olympics Area 6. Now Becky is an assistant coach for softball, and now with Reese being a partner on my team, Reese itself, she got a chance to meet someone who was younger than her in middle school last night, actually. And Reese was like a role model to her.
Thank you for sharing, Paul. You bring up a kind of a great point that Reese got involved with Special Olympics softball. And then through that, she's met other people. But Paul, she became involved in Special Olympics softball because of her friendship with you.
Athletes and partners her age and stuff. Yeah.
That's so awesome. So sometimes we might have one friend who invites us to do something. And that opportunity might lead us to making a new connection. Reese has been able to make more friendships through softball because of her friendship with Paul that brought her to softball. So it's really interesting. You never know kind of where one connection will take you.
Her herself and Becky have gotten other people involved with the Special Olympics program.
Yeah, definitely Reese's friend. She got her friend Tessa involved, and yeah. And I was just going to say too, other places that I've met friends are definitely at church, sporting events, at work. As Samantha said, in work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think one kind of like little follow-up question, if anyone has thoughts on this, is when you meet someone at these places, what is it like to, when we talk about like becoming friends, what is it like to become someone's friend? Do you invite them to something? Is that hard for you folks to do? Does that come naturally for you? Are you an outgoing person? Paul, I bet you have an answer for this.
I am an outgoing person. Actually, Casey, when I first moved down here from New Jersey, I did not know anybody until I got involved with this Special Olympics program. And I agree with Erin. I believe it was the Polar Plunge where I first met her. Erin is actually an athlete from Yorktown. And she's a good softball player too.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more natural for you to invite people to stuff because you're pretty chatty and outgoing. But I do think it's a skill. It's might be harder for some people who feel shy, but that yeah. If anyone has any tips or strategies of how you've invited new people to do stuff
outside of Special Olympics. And with my connections also outside of Special Olympics with the RVA Best Buddies and the Knights of Columbus and our local People's First group, which is a self-advocacy group here in Chesterfield, speaking for our rights. So I've gotten Becky involved, Reese, and Claire, actually.
Helps to be involved in that.
I will say that even though my job involves meeting lots of new people and promoting different friendships and raising awareness, it's a job that requires me to be pretty outgoing. I would not consider myself as an outgoing person, and when it's time for me to make new friends, I often feel a little bit anxious when I'm going to new places. Like when I go to a new yoga studio or a new coffee shop, I sometimes feel anxious about, oh my gosh, who am I going to see? Who are the people I might meet? And so one thing that's really helped me is just trying to take some deep breaths, using some positive affirmations, focusing on some great attributes about myself and knowing that, I am a good listener. I have the capability to be a good friend, and reminding myself that it takes time. You might not connect with everyone you meet, and that's okay. But hopefully you can make a meaningful connection with time. It takes practice. So even if in your job like mine, it requires you to be more outgoing, and in your personal life you might not feel outgoing, that's okay. Finding some strategies to help you stay calm in new situations can be really helpful.
I love that.
Claire, I do have a question for you, actually. How the comment would be you and Becky. I did have a counselor, actually. Me and Debbie actually were talking the other day, and the counselor does want information. She said she will pass the information along with Best Buddies, actually, too, in Chesterfield. Actually, to get more mentors and more people involved.
That sounds great, Paul. Continuing our circle of
And I was
connection.
saying to Becky earlier, and Claire, I was saying to Becky earlier, and also Casey, if both you want to come to one of our practices for Special Olympics Area 6, that might be a good idea, because there might be athletes that don't do social media that don't know about the Best Buddies program.
That brings up a good point, Paul. We often share so many events on social
And my father's
media,
in charge of everything.
but sometimes people aren't on social media, and it's important to go to events in person and make those connections. Social media can be a great way to make new people, and I see, like Samantha said, she gets to know people better through Facebook. But there are so many people who aren't on
And my
Facebook,
father,
and that's okay. All right,
Claire, let
let's
me
go
just give a
ahead
shout
and
out actually to my father and others who did share this. I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing this awesome video tonight to everyone.
thank you, Paul.
All right.
So our next
Ooh.
question is, how do you stay in touch with friends? We've talked a little bit about social media and how that can help us stay in touch with friends. Paul was mentioning he's from New Jersey, so Facebook has helped him stay connected with friends in New Jersey, and that's so wonderful. One way I really love to stay in touch with friends is through FaceTime. I think it's so fun. I have 2 little kids, so I love to FaceTime my friends and show off my kids and then hear about their life. It's a fun and interactive way to stay connected. So feel free to post in the chat how you like to stay in touch with friends.
I do something that I don't know if anyone else does this. It's not
Don't
the
be
best.
shy, people.
Oh, thank you. It's not always the best way to stay in touch, staying good, meaningful connection, but maybe Claire can give me the okay on this. I am on social media, and sometimes my friends and I love to send each other funny memes. And it's not really that meaningful or deep, but if we have a shared experience or something and I laughed because it reminded me of a time we spent together, then I will just share a meme with a bunch of crying emojis and just say, this is hilarious and I'm thinking of you.
I love that, Casey. I definitely stay in touch with my older brother that way. He has a toddler, and he'll just
Good
share
job,
funny
Casey.
memes about what it's like raising a toddler. So maybe you have something in your life. Maybe it's about sports, and you share memes back and forth with friends about the latest happenings in NFL football or basketball. So that's a great way.
What I like to do is I like to go out with some of my friends, like the movies or the mall, just get to know them more, just have fun. I also think like calling them, making like sure that they're okay, checking up on them, seeing how life is doing. I think that's also another one way that I like to stay in touch with my friends.
Does anyone like to stay in touch with friends through?
I agree with Reese, going out to dinner and some more.
Yeah, our annual Sushi King.
Chris, you like to send emails? That's great. Maybe even some snail mail.
Claire,
Not
and I totally
necessarily
agree with
the
Reese about
way.
the mall and dinner.
In the mall and dinner. So some in-person connections, but then also some online ways to stay in touch with friends. We're really lucky now that we have both means available to us. It certainly helps make staying in touch with friends easier. I know, especially during the pandemic, having email and social media and FaceTime and texting really helped people stay connected. And now it's exciting that we have more opportunities to get in touch with friends in person.
Oh, I just saw in the chat, Isabel said setting up Zooms. Yeah.
And with that, so I'm some people might know I'm the fitness director with Special Olympics, and so I would have to say even things like doing little challenges together, like accountability buddies, is a way to just be in touch. If you guys are trying to maybe make healthy recipes, you and your friend, or like go on a walk every day or something, that's like an easy thing to check in with friends of like, hey, did you go on your walk today? Or how are you doing with your fitness or your physical activity and those kinds of things. So it can be like social things, but I think also good friendships are kind of like what we were saying in the beginning, people that encourage each other and kind of hold friends accountable. Those can be like really good roots of real good relationships as well.
Thank you for sharing, Casey. We
Casey,
can move
during
to
COVID,
our last question.
I did the winter and fall combine with Alex.
Yes. Yep. There was during COVID, there was a lot of virtual fitness going on. There was some fun competitions, fitness competitions that SOVA did. We'll move on to the next question.
Ooh. So our next question are, what are barriers?
Also in person too, Casey, because I did it with Alex from the Young Professionals.
I know for me, one of the barriers to making friends is differences in schedules. Because I have 2 little kids, typically I'm at home by 5 p.m. and activities in the evening are harder for me to get to. So that is one barrier to me making friends and doing things in the evening. So if you have a barrier that you've experienced, feel free to put it in the chat. It can be something you experienced a long time ago or maybe something recently.
I don't know, Claire. I feel like this is a juicy question. Should this be one of our giveaway questions?
I think so.
What do you all think?
Chime in. We will pick someone for a giveaway.
I agree.
What is a barrier or a challenge? Reese, you can't get the giveaway, but we do want to know what you have to say.
What would be a barrier?
Reese wants to give away.
I think it's also like the same as Claire said, like schedules and everything.
Yeah.
That's all that I can think of right now.
Language could also be a barrier, right? Say English is your second language. Say your first language is Spanish, and then you're trying to make those friendships. Well, that could be hard. Or maybe if your disability is that you're hard of hearing, and trying to figure out, how do you communicate? Sign language.
They're like learning sign language. Like my friend, her second language is English, and so I'm learning to speak more Spanish so that I will be able to communicate better with her.
Yeah,
that's cool. Very cool.
During the football season for Special Olympics, we had one young man who was deaf, and so on my phone, I have an app on how to do sign language, and luckily, that helped me to communicate with him. So,
Samantha said that she can't drive, which brings up a point that many of us experience, which is transportation challenges. Even sometimes if we do have access to a vehicle, Sometimes they're not reliable, and that might cause our plans to change, and we need to communicate that with a friend. Or we're relying on public transportation, which sometimes that's running behind, and that might make us late, and that's okay. But again, communicating that with friends. But transportation is definitely a barrier that many people face to making friends, because it makes it harder to get to things in person. So that's a great opportunity, though, when you have different connections. Maybe you have a friend who does drive, or they have a family member who has access to a car and is willing to transport a few people, taking them up on that offer. I know Becky oftentimes has brought some of Paul's friends to Best Buddies events, and that has been so wonderful because we've been able to make more connections, more friendships have been made. So that has been great. Thank you so much for sharing, Samantha.
I have to say, my friend, her parents are in the military, and she recently moved to Germany. So when I want to talk to her, it's kind of hard because time zones, like it'll be like 8 p.m. there, and it'll be like 4 a.m. here. So when she like tries to call me, I'll be like, "What are you doing? It's 4 a.m." She'll be like, "Oh, I forgot." Like, and just like also schedules, like her school time is different than mine. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that Jerry said that.
Yeah, you guys were on the same page there. I also wanted to highlight what Matt Doyle said about different abilities and disabilities he had put in elaborating. He kind of referenced stereotypes. So I think a little bit of that might be getting at people's perception a little bit, and just, that kind of probably why Best Buddies exists, right? A little bit to help bridge some of the gaps or perceptions that people have about differences, to help people with and without disabilities have really meaningful friendships together. So I think that was really interesting. One thing I think about with barriers is sometimes, a couple people mentioned interests and things. And one thing, you didn't ask this necessarily, Claire, but if I were to think of like a solution in terms of schedule and things, I find sometimes that doing boring things with friends can be just as fun as doing fun things. So if you have to clean your house, or if you have to go grocery shopping or homework, do homework, and maybe invite your friend over. You can do homework together, and then it makes it a little more fun, and you don't have to squeeze in extra time to hang out with your friends.
Sometimes also sometimes you can just sit with your friend and do absolutely nothing and just enjoy each other's company. Also just like knowing that they're like in your life is it's a pretty cool thing. Like literally, y'all could just sit there, and you could make sitting fun. Like if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. With the right person, right? It could be fun.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Becky or Paul, do you want to pick a winner for a giveaway for this question?
Paul, do you want to do it?
I would like to actually pick maybe Kyle Roberts. Kyle made a good comment earlier, how he agreed with something with Reese.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kyle.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Kyle.
All right. Kyle, you're going to get some swag. Congrats.
Gonna have the drip.
And Claire, actually, me and Becky will see him Monday at Special Olympics basketball practice.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Paul. Casey, we can move to our last slide, which is a scenario.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, like we've talked about, making friends is hard, and it requires practice, and it's a skill that gets better with time. So we're going to look at this scenario, and I'd love for people to answer in the chat. When Sally meets a new friend, she talks and talks about herself. The other girl looks upset. What can Sally do now to make a new friend? This is something maybe you have experienced personally. So share your experience, or you can share the answer to this question. Going back to what we said in the beginning, remembering that becoming friends requires listening and sharing. So thinking about that. What could Sally do in this circumstance?
It's a great scenario. It's kind of tricky. Want to hear what you guys think.
I would say with this situation, maybe join a social group like Best Buddies or Special Olympics or etc.
I would say check up on the other girl
Then maybe somebody
And
could be a mentor.
and ask her, hey, what's wrong? Like, is there anything that I can do to help you? And maybe if she says something else, just like sit with her and just like, I don't know, just hold on. Sorry.
Oh, look at my girl Sam over here. Wow, Sam, what a response. She needs to listen and not talk. And Sam is a really good listener. If you guys don't know her, I feel like she's very
Good job,
good.
Samantha. Good job.
Yeah, very good at listening. I think that's a great answer.
Great answer, because being friends does require back and forth. Sometimes we might be so excited to share about our favorite music or our favorite movie. But if we sit there and we talk for minutes and minutes about that, and we don't give our new friend an opportunity to talk, they might become upset because they probably want to share stuff about themselves. Or maybe, I'm trying to think, like Toy Story is not their favorite movie. Maybe they like WALL-E better. And they want to have a conversation about which one is the best or things like that. And so going back and forth, asking questions, saying, hey, my favorite movie is Toy Story. This is why I like it. What's your favorite movie? And then giving the person an opportunity to share about what their favorite movie is or what their favorite sport, music. So making sure you have time to listen and not always talk. Sometimes we just want to kind of fill up the space. But sometimes being a good friend really requires us to pause and listen and let other people share.
That's really great.
Claire, I think what would be cool if you could send maybe the events that's coming up as well, especially with Kyle and others living in the Richmond area, then maybe they might want to go to the VCU basketball game coming up. That's how they can make friends, connection.
Yes, through connections. Well, these are all
What would we do without connections these days, guys?
Well, I really appreciate everyone participating tonight and participating in the chat as we had a candid conversation about friendship. Remembering friendships are so important, but it can be hard to make friends, and that's okay. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes us asking and answering questions about ourselves, about other people. It takes us going out to things like Special Olympics, sporting events, to Best Buddies events, to movies with friends, out at the mall, trying new things, putting ourselves out there, which isn't always easy, but it gets better with practice. So if you have any more questions about friendships, about Best Buddies, about how to get involved, my contact information is at the end of our slide deck. But Casey, do you have any other questions for us before we go?
I don't think I have any more really questions for the group. I think I would love to kind of hear one last time, if we can, from Becky and Paul, just as you reflect. I feel like we said it so quickly, but there's so much significance in 25 plus years. So I think it could be closer to like 28 years of knowing each other and all the ebbs and flows of that. And I would just love to, see if maybe you each have anything that you want to say.
Paul, would you like to go or you want me to go?
I'm going to let the ladies go first.
Oh, he's such a gentleman. He really is. And all I can say is I really am so grateful for the opportunities that we've had as adults. And what I wish is that I had opportunities more when I was younger, because I really, in reflecting on my friendship with Paul right now, I wish I had that when I was younger and in high school, being a part of Special Olympics, being a part of Best Buddies, because I really feel like my friendship with him could have grown really strongly at that time in our life. But I'm now in adulthood just so thankful for the opportunities I have with him and him being a part of my family, and it's been great. So what would you say, Reese?
Sorry, I was just looking in this chat, seeing Aaron's putting everybody in their houses. I'm wondering what I am, but Aaron's putting everybody in Harry Potter houses, and I was just wondering which one I am.
Oh, gotcha.
But
Just your experience with Best Buddies in this last year.
well, I definitely say it's one of the biggest changes of my life. I definitely think that it's been a really good impact on me, and getting to know Paul and learning more about him every single day is making me a better person. And me and Paul are best friends, so that's all I gotta say.
Paul?
And I totally agree with Becky. I wish we knew about Best Buddies when we were in high school. The state's forever. And Casey, there's one thing about me and Becky. We have never been teammates now, but she is the team mom on our basketball team.
All right. Love it. Love it.
One of many team moms, I mean.
Amazing. Love that. Well, thanks all so much. And Reese, you are Hufflepuff as Brock.
I am a Hufflepuff, actually. I am a Hufflepuff. My mom is a Ravenclaw.
Emma?
You nailed it. You nailed it. Well, thanks all so much.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.